The room went dead silent when they announced his name. Vincent Cross's 25-year-old son, barely 6 months on the job, couldn't even explain what our division actually did. And there I was, clapping like an idiot. After 7 years of keeping Pacific Coast Freight running through every crisis you can imagine, they expected me to smile while they handed this kid the future I'd built with my own hands. My name's Noah Pierce, I'm 48, and I should have seen this coming a mile away. For 7 years I told myself the endless nights, the weekend calls, the constant pressure were just temporary investments. I was building something solid. Providing for my son Jake, making sure he'd have the college opportunities I never had after his mom and I split when he was 10. When you're a single dad trying to keep everything together on one income, you convince yourself that hard work eventually pays off. That loyalty actually means something to people. I was dead wrong about a lot of things back then. Jake's 17 now, looking at colleges that cost more than I made my first 3 years combined. Every time he shows me another brochure, I see the excitement in his eyes and remember why I put up with Vincent's games for so long. Kid's got his mom's brains and thankfully none of my stubborn streak. He wants to study engineering, maybe go into sustainable energy. Smart kid. Smarter than his old man, that's for sure. When I first started at Pacific Coast Freight, I was just grateful to have steady work that paid decent. The divorce had cleaned me out financially. Lawyers, child support, splitting assets that weren't worth much to begin with. Starting over at 41 with a kid depending on you teaches you to keep your mouth shut and work twice as hard as everyone else. But I was good at what I did. Maritime logistics isn't rocket science, but it takes years to understand which carriers actually deliver on time, which ports have the worst bureaucracy, and how to keep container shipments moving when Murphy's Law kicks in. You learn that a TEU isn't just a number on a spreadsheet, it's 20 feet of cargo space that can make or break a quarterly report if it ends up in the wrong place. People started coming to me for solutions before management ever caught on. Customs holdup blocking a critical shipment to Tacoma? Call Noah. Warehouse fire shuts down the northern distribution routes? Noah will find you alternatives. Client having a complete meltdown because their freight's sitting on a dock in Long Beach instead of Portland? Better get Noah on the phone before they cancel their contract. I became the guy who made problems disappear, quietly keeping the whole operation from falling apart while everyone else focused on the big picture stuff. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was holding up the foundation while other people got credit for the architecture. Vincent Cross noticed my work, eventually. Our regional VP loved having someone who made him look brilliant in board meetings without ever threatening his position. I'd feed him the real information about port delays, carrier reliability, and shipping lane efficiency, and he'd present it like he'd discovered it himself. Every performance review followed the same script. Noah, you're doing exceptional work. Just be patient. Your time's coming. And I believed him because I needed to. Single dad, mortgage, college fund to build, career I couldn't afford to gamble with. Jake was counting on me to keep things stable, and stability meant keeping Vincent happy. Vincent understood the math perfectly. He knew exactly how much I needed that job, and he used that knowledge like a lever. The more indispensable I made myself, the more trapped I became. He could pile on the responsibilities because he knew I'd never walk away from the security. I became the living memory of that division. Knew every major supplier from Seattle to San Diego by their first names. Could predict shipping bottlenecks 2 weeks out just by reading vessel schedules and weather patterns. Had relationships with port authorities, customs brokers, and warehouse managers that took years to build and couldn't be replaced overnight. All of that knowledge made Vincent look like a strategic genius when he presented our quarterly numbers to corporate. As long as I stayed quiet, loyal, and invisible, I was exactly the kind of employee guys like him build their careers on. Competent enough to deliver results, dependent enough never to become competition. The warning signs were everywhere. If I'd been paying attention instead of just grinding through each day. Closed-door meetings I wasn't invited to anymore. A second desk appearing in Vincent's office months before anyone mentioned expansion. New organizational charts being discussed in hushed conversations that stopped when I walked by. But I kept telling myself everything was fine, that I just needed to keep my head down and push through another year. Maybe then Vincent would finally recognize what I'd contributed. Maybe then he'd remember all those crisis calls at midnight, all those impossible deadlines I'd somehow met, all those relationships that kept our clients from jumping to competitors. I didn't know that year would be the one to shatter every assumption I had about fairness, loyalty, and how the world actually works when you're not the boss's son. Looking back now, I can see exactly when Mason Cross walked into our office and changed everything. It was a Tuesday morning in March, and he carried himself like someone who'd never been told he couldn't have something he wanted. Vincent's son carried himself like someone who'd never been told no in his life. Fresh MBA from some expensive school, perfect haircut, suit that probably cost more than I spent on clothes in 6 months, and absolutely zero idea what we actually did for a living. Vincent introduced him like we were meeting royalty instead of some 25-year-old who'd graduated 6 months earlier and had never seen the inside of a freight terminal. "Mason's here to learn the business from the ground up," Vincent announced, grinning like his boy was already destined for the corner office. Nobody said anything, but the tension in that room was thick enough to cut. Everyone understood what was happening, even if we weren't allowed to name it out loud. They assigned him to shadow me, which should have been my first red flag about where this whole thing was heading. Within an hour, it became crystal clear that Mason had no clue about maritime logistics. His first question was how many delivery trucks we owned. We didn't own trucks. We contracted with independent carriers who handled the actual transportation. Then he wanted to know about our delivery routes. We didn't do deliveries, we coordinated container shipments between major ports and distribution centers across the Pacific Northwest. But he wasn't stupid, just completely unprepared for the reality of what his father's division actually did. He took notes like his life depended on it, asking questions that showed he was genuinely trying to learn. The problem was, he was learning a job that should have been mine. I tried to give him a fair shot. Really, I did. Explained supply chain logistics, port operations, the complexities of customs clearance, and the delicate relationships with carriers that kept our shipping lanes profitable. He listened, wrote everything down, asked follow-up questions. But nothing seemed to stick in any meaningful way. Meanwhile, Vincent talked about Mason like he was the second coming of logistics innovation. Fresh perspective, he kept saying. New ideas. Even though Mason's most insightful observation in 3 weeks was asking why cargo ships couldn't just take more direct routes to save time. For months, I watched the slow shift happening around me. Mason started getting pulled into meetings I'd been handling for years. Decisions that used to run through me for technical input suddenly got rubber-stamped by someone who couldn't tell a shipping container from a storage unit. Colleagues who'd been coming to me for guidance started asking, "Has Mason looked at this yet?" Not because they respected his judgment, but because they could see which way the political wind was blowing. The worst part wasn't Mason's inexperience. It was watching good people adapt to a system they knew was broken. Sarah in customer relations started copying Mason on emails she used to send directly to me. Mike from operations began running his crisis management plans past Mason first, even though Mason had never handled an actual crisis. Everyone was protecting their own position by acknowledging the obvious nepotism. I kept telling myself it was temporary, that Vincent was just giving his son some experience before moving him to a different department, that my years of proven results would eventually speak louder than family connections. But deep down, I was starting to understand what was really happening. Jake noticed something was wrong before I admitted it to myself. We were having dinner at home, pizza again because I'd been working late most of the week, when he looked up from his homework and asked if everything was okay at work. "Just busy," I told him, which was true, but not the whole truth. "You seem stressed," he said, "more than usual." Kid was too perceptive for his own good. I'd been trying to shield him from the political garbage at work, but apparently I wasn't hiding it as well as I thought. The last thing he needed was to worry about our financial stability when he was supposed to be focusing on his senior year in college applications. "It's nothing I can't handle," I said, which felt like a lie even as I said it. The morning they made the announcement official, the whole office felt different, like everyone knew something I didn't. I walked into the conference room expecting another routine quarterly update, Vincent droning on about numbers and initiatives while I mentally reviewed the reports I'd prepared for him. I'd been doing the heavy analytical work on our coastal distribution optimization for months, ready for him to finally acknowledge the results. People were looking at me strangely, small smiles, encouraging nods. For one foolish moment, I let myself believe maybe this was finally the day my contributions would get recognized. Then Vincent walked in with Mason at his side, and I saw the excitement on Mason's face, that flush of anticipation you get when you know something good is about to happen to you. Something cold settled in my stomach. Vincent stood at the head of the table, hand on Mason's shoulder like he was presenting a prize. "Before we begin today," he said. "I have a very important announcement to make." The room went quiet. Too quiet. "Effective immediately," Vincent continued, his voice full of pride. "Mason Cross will be stepping into the role of Regional Operations Director." The words hit me like a physical blow. I sat there completely frozen, watching people around the table start clapping for a kid who'd been there 6 months while I'd been building this division for 7 years. Mason looked overwhelmed, which was probably the most honest reaction in the room. I forced myself to clap along, my hands moving on autopilot while my brain tried to process what had just happened. Vincent kept talking about fresh leadership and innovative approaches, but all I could hear was the sound of my career hitting a brick wall at full speed. When he mentioned how instrumental I'd been in getting Mason prepared for this role, like all my expertise had been nothing more than a training course for his son, something inside me went completely cold. After the meeting, Vincent asked me to stick around. Once the room cleared out, he loosened his tie and put on that fake, concerned expression he probably practiced in the mirror. "I know this might come as a surprise," he said, settling back in his chair like we were just having a casual chat about the weather. "I know this might come as a surprise," he said, settling back in his chair like we were just having a casual chat about the weather. "But Mason brings fresh perspective to the role." Fresh perspective. From someone who thought we delivered packages door to door. "You understand, right?" Vincent continued, studying my face for any sign of rebellion. "It's nothing personal, right? Promoting his inexperienced son over the person who'd been running the division successfully for years wasn't personal. Expecting me to smile and accept it wasn't personal. Using my financial responsibilities as leverage to keep me quiet wasn't personal." "I understand perfectly," I said, and for the first time in months, I actually did. I saw everything clearly now. The manipulation disguised as mentorship, the false promises designed to keep me loyal, the invisible ceiling I'd been told didn't exist. Vincent had been playing a long game, and I'd been too focused on doing good work to realize I was just a piece on his board. That night, I stayed late at the office, partly because I didn't want to go home and pretend everything was normal when Jake asked about my day, partly because I needed time to think without distractions. I finished updating reports that no one would read, completed vendor audits that Vincent had requested and would probably ignore, and tried to convince myself I could survive this humiliation if I just kept my head down. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something fundamental had changed. By 8 p.m., the building was empty except for the cleaning crew working their way through the floors. I got up to stretch my legs and headed for the break room, needing coffee even though I knew it would keep me awake all night. As I passed Vincent's office, I heard voices inside. Low, tense, unmistakably private. I should have kept walking, should have respected the boundary and minded my own business. But something inside me already knew this conversation involved my future, and I couldn't turn away. The door was cracked just enough for sound to slip through. I recognized the second voice immediately, Raymond Wells, our corporate liaison who came down from headquarters whenever there were significant changes to discuss. "The board's going to ask questions," Raymond was saying. "Mason's only been here 6 months. His resume doesn't exactly scream operations director." Vincent let out that dismissive laugh he used when he thought concerns were overblown. "They'll get over it. He's got the MBA credentials, and honestly, family connections matter in this business." "What about Noah? His performance reviews have been exceptional. The client specifically asked for him by name." There was a pause that felt like an eternity. Then Vincent said something that changed everything for me. "Noah's reliable, but he's not leadership material. He's a technician, not a visionary." My hands went cold. Reliable. Like a piece of equipment that works when you need it but doesn't require much thought. Reliable? Raymond pushed back. "The man's been running this division single-handedly. His crisis management saved us millions last year alone." "Look," Vincent said, and I could hear the confidence in his voice. "Noah's not going anywhere. Single dad, teenager heading to college, mortgage payments. He needs this job more than we need to promote him. He'll keep his head down and do what he's always done. Make us look good." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. He wasn't just talking about my work performance. He was talking about my life, my responsibilities, my vulnerabilities. Everything I thought demonstrated my commitment and reliability, he saw as chains that would keep me trapped in place. "He'll fall in line," Vincent added with certainty. "He always does." That's when it hit me. I wasn't an employee to him. I was a resource to be managed. someone whose personal circumstances made him compliant and useful. Vincent hadn't been rewarding my loyalty. He'd been exploiting it. I backed away from that doorway as quietly as I could, my heart pounding and my mind racing. For the first time in 7 years, I wasn't thinking about job security or Jake's college fund or playing it safe. I was thinking about dignity, self-respect, and what happens when someone mistakes your patience for weakness. I went back to my desk, shut down my computer, and sat there in the dark for a long time. The anger I expected to feel never came. Instead, there was something much more powerful: clarity. Crystal clear understanding of exactly where I stood and what needed to happen next. The next morning, I called Jake before he left for school. "Dad, you're up early," he said, probably wondering why I was calling instead of just talking to him over breakfast. "Listen," I said, "I want you to know that whatever happens with work stuff, your college plans don't change. We'll figure it out. Is everything okay?" "Everything's going to be fine," I told him. And for the first time in months, I actually believed it. "I just wanted you to know that you don't need to worry about anything except being 17 and getting ready for the next chapter of your life." There was a pause. Then he said, "Thanks, Dad. That means a lot." After we hung up, I sat at my kitchen table with a cup of coffee and a legal pad, writing out exactly what I was going to do. Not in anger, not for revenge, but because sometimes the only way to respect yourself is to stop letting other people define your worth. By Friday afternoon, the clarity from that night had solidified into something unshakable. I'd spent the week documenting every process, every client relationship, every operational detail that would help Mason succeed despite his inexperience. Not for Vincent's benefit, but because there were good people at that company who didn't deserve to suffer because of his poor leadership. I printed my resignation letter on thick cream-colored paper, the kind you use for important documents, not impulsive decisions. When the clock hit 4:30, I smoothed my tie, picked up the envelope, and walked toward Vincent's office. He was just finishing up what looked like another training session with Mason, both of them hunched over spreadsheets that I'd probably created. I knocked on the doorframe. "Noah?" Vincent looked up with that practiced managerial smile. "Come in. How's the transition going?" I handed him the envelope without sitting down. "This is my 2 weeks' notice." The smile died on Vincent's face before he could stop it. His eyes went wide, then narrowed into an expression I'd never seen before: genuine fear. "This has to be a joke," he said, tearing open the envelope like he could make the contents disappear by reading them fast enough. "No joke," I said calmly. He read my letter twice, the second time much slower, his face getting redder with each line. When he looked up, his throat was tight. "Noah, you can't be serious. You're leaving because of the promotion decision?" I didn't answer. Sometimes silence makes people more nervous than words, and I wanted Vincent very nervous. "Look," he said, standing up and trying to regain control of the situation. "Let's talk about this rationally. Don't make a decision you'll regret." "It's not impulsive," I said. "It's overdue." He tried everything in his playbook, told me I was being emotional, that I was throwing away years of investment, that walking out would make me look unprofessional. When none of that worked, he got uglier. "You realize quitting like this means I can't give you a strong reference," he said, leaning back in his chair like he'd played a winning card. 7 years won't mean much if I tell potential employers you abandoned your responsibilities. 7 years of flawless performance reviews, crisis management, and client relationships, and now I was being threatened like a liability. "I won't need a reference from you," I told him. The next week proved just how wrong Vincent was about everything. Mason tried his absolute best, I'll give him credit for that, but he was drowning from day one. A customs issue with a major Tacoma shipment had him at his desk at 6 a.m., looking like he'd been up all night trying to figure out documentation he'd never seen before. When I helped him sort it out, walking him through customs codes and carrier protocols, the relief on his face was almost heartbreaking. He wasn't the villain in this story. He was just a kid thrown into deep water by his father's arrogance and ego. By Wednesday, 4 of our biggest clients had called asking specifically for me. When I explained that I was leaving in a week, every conversation ended with the same uncomfortable silence, followed by polite but pointed questions about who would be handling their accounts going forward. These weren't just business relationships built over purchase orders and shipping schedules. They were built on trust that took years to develop. Trust that someone would answer the phone at 2 a.m. when a shipment got stuck in customs. Trust that problems would get solved quickly and correctly the first time. Trust that followed people, not companies. Thursday morning, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. Noah, this is Oliver Stone from Ocean West Logistics. We've been watching your division's performance for some time, and word is getting around that you might be available. I'd heard of Ocean West. They were Pacific Coast's main competitor for Northwest shipping routes. Professional, aggressive, and always looking for experienced talent. We'd like you to consider running our Northwest operations, Oliver continued. 30% salary increase, full benefits package, and the autonomy to build the division the way you think it should be run. I didn't even hesitate. When can we meet? The offer was everything I'd hoped for at Pacific Coast but never received. More money, yes, but more importantly, respect. Real authority to make decisions. A leadership team that understood the difference between fresh perspective and actual experience. We're not just hiring your resume, Oliver said during our meeting. We're hiring your reputation. No one had ever said anything like that to me before. Within a month of starting at Ocean West, I had my new team operational and 3 major clients had followed me over. Not because I recruited them, I was very careful about that, but because they trusted my judgment more than they trusted Vincent's promises. In shipping logistics, trust moves money fast. Meanwhile, Pacific Coast began falling apart exactly the way I knew it would. Mason was trying hard, but experience can't be taught in 6 weeks. Shipments got delayed, documentation got misfiled, client relationships went sour. Vincent tried to blame it on industry changes and market volatility, but the board wasn't buying it. 6 months after I left, Oliver dropped a trade magazine on my desk with a satisfied grin. Page 4, he said. The headline read, Pacific Coast Freight loses 45% of regional revenue. VP terminated following nepotism investigation. Vincent had been fired. Publicly. The article mentioned Mason's resignation and return to school to get proper logistics training. According to the piece, he was pursuing an advanced certification in supply chain management, learning the business the right way this time. I read the article twice, then closed the magazine. I didn't feel vindicated or triumphant. I felt done. Because the best revenge hadn't been destroying them, it had been building something better somewhere else. A year later, I was back in Tacoma for a client meeting when I spotted someone familiar in a corner booth at a small waterfront cafe. Mason Cross, looking older and more serious, hunched over textbooks with a highlighter in his hand. When he saw me, he straightened up, then walked over to my table. Noah, he said quietly, I've been hoping I'd run into you. I gestured for him to sit down. The textbook he'd been studying was titled Advanced Maritime Logistics, Port Operations, and Supply Chain Integration. Learning the business for real this time, he said with a self-conscious smile that held no entitlement. Just honesty and maybe a little sadness for what could have been different. Good for you, I said, and meant it. I wanted to apologize, he continued, for everything. I wasn't ready for that position, and what happened to you wasn't right. Dad still blames you for the company's problems, but I know better. Losing you is what broke everything, not anything I did wrong. I studied his face and saw someone who'd learned hard lessons about work, family, and the difference between earning something and being given it. You were put in an impossible situation, I told him. That wasn't your fault. I paid for both our coffees before leaving. Walking back to my car, I felt something settle inside me that had been restless for a long time. Not victory, not revenge, just peace. Because sometimes justice isn't about watching someone fall. It's about finally rising to the place where you belong. What I learned from all this is straightforward. Loyalty without boundaries becomes exploitation. Hard work without advocacy becomes servitude. Some people will only value you as long as you're useful and too dependent to leave. They'll use your responsibilities against you, counting on your dedication to keep you compliant. When Vincent gambled that I wouldn't stand up for myself, he wasn't just wrong about my future, he was wrong about his own. His downfall wasn't my revenge. It was the natural consequence of mistaking quiet competence for weakness. The moment you stop letting others define your worth, your life starts moving in a direction that actually makes sense. Pay attention to places where you feel undervalued or taken for granted. Don't wait for permission to make changes you know you need to make. And remember, the people who truly value what you bring will show it in actions, not just words. Everything else is just conversation. Your worth isn't determined by how much someone needs you to stay. It's proven by how much they lose when you choose to leave.